Hello everyone, welcome to my second Monday Mardle, although apologies, it is rather late that I'm doing this. It had to be a little bit of a squeeze-in job, and so apologies for that. Apologies for the rather dank and strange circumstances. I don't know, it's literally the only place I could think of doing it. Because of, days off and stuff like that. So, but part of this is about doing random things, isn't it? So I figured I'd do this randomly with this rather fetching lamp, which will hopefully add to the atmosphere. Hope you're all well. Thank you for your continuing support on my new YouTube feed. It's been phenomenal in terms of how just the 2 or 3 videos I've done so far have been received. I really appreciate it. Thanks for finding me, and please tell anyone in case they wonder where I've gone or they can't find me anymore. The more the merrier of you, obviously, and make sure you do subscribe if you're watching this now and you want to follow the other videos too. That's very important because then you'll get to know when they're popping up and what they are and all that sort of stuff. So clearly I'm sure we're still absolutely bouncing off the walls from Saturday. It was, the more you think about it, something that doesn't come along really very often with Norwich City, or hasn't done in the last 2 or 3 decades. Norwich really putting on a sumptuous Premier League performance, especially so early in the season, in a game that carried a fair amount of weight, it has to be said. And I think you have to look at the two sides that are involved, and I talked about this in my video report. You have to look at the two sides involved, of course, but apart from Joel Linton's early chance that he couldn't take and headed wide, Norwich really imposed themselves and made that happen on Saturday. They were superb from minute one, and Moritz Leitner really made things tick, and loads of stats flowing around about how good he was. And he has to stay in that side for me. So just a really complete performance in the end, and I think defensively they played really well and covered the ground well too. You may have seen over at The Athletic my analysis piece from the game, kind of focused on Tim Krul. I know there was a lot of stuff from him sort of before the game, but it was just really interesting, I think, in terms of how he is there to help make Norwich tick. And again, during the summer, a lot of people were questioning whether it would be Ralph Farman straight in, because Norwich just spent a little bit of money to bring him in on loan just for a season, and I think they were wondering how that would pan out. But I don't think you can have any complaints about the 2 performances Tim has put in so far. He's looked really comfortable on the ball. He's not dwelt on it. He's used it really well. He's shared it around, and also made some pretty good saves. I don't think you can really blame him for any of the goals because he's been quite exposed. So the piece goes into stuff like that and a couple of nice stats. Give it a read if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, get subscribing, because it's a really it's a cracking website, and there's so much good football content on there that you would miss it if you didn't, and I would say that, of course. But there we go. As for this week, well, I've just got a few things on. We'll see how it all pans out. I'll be doing a Q&A as usual on Wednesday, so I hope you get to take that in. It'll be at 1 o'clock UK time, obviously, because I know there's maybe a few people in the States, which have you, and abroad, that maybe catch these videos, but it'll be at 1 o'clock, I think is the plan, on Wednesday. So get any questions you want in. I'll answer as many of them over the course of an hour, and it's proving a really good access window, actually. So I really enjoyed doing that last week, and we actually did for the first time, because it was the first time I covered a game properly on Saturday with my new job. Obviously at Liverpool it was a bit of a sit in the stands and take the journey in job, which was a brilliant experience as well, and that was by choice, by the way, to conjure the peace, not because we couldn't get a pass, because I know some people were quite sceptical. But likewise, I haven't been to either of the 2 pre-match press conferences yet, so hopefully, all being well, I will definitely be at Colney on Friday. But yeah, the Newcastle game was the first time I've been in the press box doing this job, and it's really interesting. We do a Q&A 2 hours after kickoff on The Athletic as well, just for 15 minutes of me being on there answering some questions. I might be doing that from the mix zone or from the manager's press conference, but that again proved a really nice weather vane into how people were feeling. Obviously after a win, we might be talking about something different if Norwich get pummeled one game, which hopefully won't happen, and will be a fair way off if it does, and also forgivable. But we'll see how that comes along when it materialises. But they're really good. So again, keep an eye out for that against Chelsea, because of course Chelsea's an early kickoff. I think it's 12:30 off the top of my head, but I haven't checked that. Apologies, but 12:30 I'll say at Carrow Road on Saturday, which means I'll be on this Q&A from 2:30. I think, and we'll see who we then get to speak to around that. But it's well worth it, certainly if you subscribe, getting involved in that, because it's a lovely little window. Not sure if there's much more to talk about, to be honest. It's going to be a strange week, so I might leave it as quite a short one, and I'm sorry about that. But I'm not sure if I'm doing a column this week, just so you know. It will normally be a Thursday or a Wednesday, but we're not sure yet. But there might be a piece going up on Daniel Farkas, the secret success of Daniel Farkas, as I think it might be titled. But that'll be out and about early in the week. The Norwich City head coach continues to deliver. And one example, and this is something I did miss, completely accidentally, by the way, off my video report, because I think I brought him up and then said I'd come back to him, and then I never did. I think you can now look at Todd Cantwell's development as a key piece of Daniel Farkas' development in a player, because he did okay. He did pretty well at the start of last season when he played in. I remember the Nottingham Forest game at the City Ground. He was very good in that. Had some really nice moments. Struggled stepping in for Emmy, if we're brutally honest, towards the end of last season. And when I say struggled, not because he played badly, but I think the weight of expectation, how well Norwich were doing, and also that Emmy at that point was just such a crucial piece in the jigsaw. I think anyone stepping in would have found it really difficult. But since he's come in, and it was clear in pre-season, I don't like judging anything on pre-season alone, but what we can see now is that because Todd has done so well, Todd Cantwell I'm talking about, by the way, Todd Cantwell has done so well in the 2 Premier League games since the season started, we can now look with hindsight and say, yes, those performances that were really good in pre-season were a precursor to what he's been able to do since. So Todd, again, 2 brilliant assists, but it was also the way he drove and turned. He's so nippy and quick. I mean, he had a really profound effect on the game on Saturday. He's not the only one, lots of them did, but he worked really well, really hard, and really effectively, and that's great to see, because there are probably other players playing in that front 3 who aren't quite at his level yet. Even Emmy, I think there's a degree of looking at Emmy thinking he just needs to calm down a little bit. Possibly feels slightly too eager, given we're early in the season, and we'll all know how desperate he is to impress. And Marco Stiepermann is doing some things really well, but some things are a little bit scratchy. And you'd argue out of the front 3, Todd's been the most consistent. So I think that says a lot for Todd, and if he keeps that going, that will be fantastic. And it will say so much of Daniel Farkas that he's managed to extract that from him. And Todd's probably benefiting from the fact his contract's sorted, because I don't care what you say, I don't think that helps at all. Whatever the reasons were, just didn't help that he was in that situation. So the only thing is I think it looked like he'd started highlighting his hair. So, Todd, don't worry about the hair. The hair will look after itself. I know that's not true, but you know what I'm trying to say. So all good from Todd and all good from Norwich City, of course. I did some match ratings, player ratings, because someone did say they wanted to see them, but I actually haven't got them to hand, which is terrible preparation, so apologies for that. But I think I gave Krul a 7. I think I had to give Teemu man of the match again for the fact he got a hat-trick. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal, isn't it? It's hard not to give a man of the match when someone walks away with 3 goals, and especially when they're all 3 goals. I think I gave Ben Godfrey a 7. I've rated Tom Tribal and Moritz Leitner very highly as well. I think Moritz was possibly an 8 alongside Teemu. Todd, I think, was somewhere at 7 or 8. Emmy and Marco slightly lower than that. Grant Hanley slightly lower than that, and Max just about above. I thought Jamal again was excellent as well, so he was probably on a 7. So it was something like that. But in a performance where you wouldn't want to pick out on anyone being particularly bad or indifferent, because the team as a collective were very good and no one had a bad 90 minutes. So that bodes really well for Norwich going forward. Of course, Chelsea's going to be a huge task. They're in a funk, really, is probably the best way to describe it, because you can see real flashes of what Frank Lampard is trying to do. He'll fondly remember what happened at Carrow Road the last time he was here with Derby, and completely nuts game. In fact, that would be the last time Norwich lost at home, off the top of my head as well. So we'll see if that is a stat and an omen. But you can see how much Chelsea are in transition, and there is clearly a way of getting at them at the moment, because James Maddison showed how possible that was in the second half on Sunday especially. So it'll be really interesting how that pans out. I think it's a decent time for Norwich to play Chelsea. Likewise, you cannot underplay the quality they have at their disposal, and even in transition they've probably got enough about them to put stuff right, and they could blow you away if they really start in the first half on the front foot at 100%. So Norwich will be well aware of that, but it will be a really interesting test, and it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea deal with it, because they'll be desperate to get that first win under the belt and just shut a few people up, and they'll probably envisage going to Carrow Road against Norwich being one of the good opportunities to do that, regardless of whether people say lots of positive stuff in the build-up. So there we go. I've somehow still managed to make this last 10 minutes, so that's pretty good going. You'll be able to follow me over the course of the week, of course, in the usual places. As I said, thanks again for watching and subscribing to The Athletic. Make sure if you are subscribing, there'll be a code in the bottom of this and on my Twitter bio, which will get you 50% off a subscription to The Athletic if you haven't signed up already. That code is live for all of August, so just bear that in mind. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you're watching on Facebook, thanks again. I'm sure you've given a like and a follow to the page, but if not, do that as well. In the meantime, have a lovely week, everyone, and I might try and whip up a preview if I can before the game on Saturday. If not, I'll see you on the other side of full time for that Q&A and of course my video verdict from Carrow Road. I will sign off with a lovely image of this wonderful lamp.